And around mile like 7 or so, my Achilles just like lit up. It just got lit up to the point where I had to like actually stop for a few minutes and let it calm down. And then like my pace from then on was much, much slower from then on. One of my go-to workouts on an assault bike for like a high intensity workout is 15 seconds of complete max effort. I do it on an echo bike, but
Hmm.
you do it on an assault bike or whatever. So 15 seconds of max effort, and then it's 5 rounds, and then you just go every 3 minutes. So you have 2:45 rest and a
Yeah.
15-second interval, and that is actually incredibly difficult if you haven't worked up to it. So I go on the 3, but if I haven't done it in a while, I'll go on the 4, sometimes even on the 5, give
Hmm.
myself even longer, because if you haven't worked up to that, then it won't be sustainable anymore. But yeah, point being is sometimes you need like 10 times the rest.
Yeah. So like I would say in high school, we ran track together and I would do a 200-meter run. And I feel like I topped out at my speed because we didn't do enough strength training.
Yeah, it's possible for
My
sure.
aerobic system was prepared to handle maximum, quote unquote, for those of you who aren't on YouTube, maximum effort for 25 seconds. But my muscles couldn't produce enough force or slow themselves down enough for me to accelerate anymore.
Yeah.
So for one of my other tips here for common training mistakes, I put not enough strength or cross training because it's super important that you are super strong. The faster you're running or the longer volume, your bones need to be dense, your tissue needs to be resilient, and they need to glide and slide really well.
Absolutely. And like you just said, did you say cross training as
Yeah,
well?
cross training, right?
Yeah. So anytime, if you play any sport at all, and let's say in this example, running is your sport because that's
Mm-hmm.
what you do every day, you go for these runs and whatnot, then you should be in the gym doing something to counteract all of the things that you're kind of all the stress that you're putting on your body from your sport, whether it's from running or from swimming or play football or whatever. You need to be doing something in the gym to counteract those things. Like cycling, for example, if you're hunched over all the time on the bike, you got to be doing something else to open up.
We have so many long distance cyclists and they're short and hunched over and their hips are locked.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if they worked with a if they didn't have a coach and they just go into the gym and they just start squatting and deadlifting, they're going to get fucked up.
Yep,
And
exactly.
it's not anyone's fault. It's just that they're not prepared. Like they have a certain way, and if you don't cross train your whole career, it's so important to do it because you will get better by cycling less and strength training more.
Yep. And you'll just, regardless of better though, you'll just be healthier and more
Yeah.
functional. So yeah, I would say regardless of what the sport is, whether it's a single modality aerobic sport like running or cycling, or even if you're playing baseball or football or
Yep.
basketball, your training in the gym, part of it at least, shouldn't necessarily be focused on how to get you better at the sport necessarily, but how to counteract some of those effects that you're taking from your actual sport.
Yeah, so you do sports training, we'll call it 2 to 3 hours a day. We'll call it 3 hours.
Yeah.
The other 21 hours you need to be recovering, and to do that you need to utilize oxygen. And the better your aerobic capacity or oxygen utilization and uptake is, the better you're going to recover in that rest period.
Yeah.
So pitchers have done this forever. You finish throwing, you finish a game, you run 3 miles. Like that's as old as baseball. They couldn't explain to you why, but like everyone says, move the lactic acid. Yes and no. Yes and no, but you restore proper joint mechanics. You get the body like starting to replenish.
Yep.
Like that post workout meal is super important. And every runner knows, and swimmer too, after morning practice, you down chocolate milk and then you eat a bunch of extra stuff. You carb load.
Carb load. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just tend to carb load all the time.
Yeah, same. I just do it all the time and
I just
don't.
got to be ready.
Yeah, and I don't exercise at all.
Have you ran a marathon?
No, furthest I've gone is 10 miles.
How did that feel?
Caveat, it was 10 miles of a tough mutter. So it wasn't purely running,
Got it.
but still running,
Hmm.
still doing the distance. But it actually, what I've been saying the whole time is what happened. It was too much volume for me. And around mile like 7 or so, my Achilles just like lit up. It just got lit up to the point where I had to like actually stop for a few minutes and let it calm down. And then like my pace from then on was much, much slower from then on. But it was, yeah, that's what got me was the volume.
Yeah, we talked about this when I told you I was going to do a marathon and my training partner got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but from doing 5 days consistently of high intensity interval training, some weight training, the hardest thing is the actual volume and not the aerobic capacity, not the strength, not the flexibility. It's just, can I withstand 30,000 steps or 50? I don't know how many steps it is, but Louis Simmons talks about this a lot too. Like the stronger you are, the less ground contact time. That makes you a faster runner. The stronger you are, the more distance you get per step. The less steps, the faster the run. So I just had to get used to running for 4 hours without stopping.
Yeah. So we'll probably talk about this on another episode, but
Yeah.
a book that I've read called the Jack Daniels Running Formula, which is the best name of any exercise program of all times. If you're like, I'm just gonna drink Jack Daniels.
That's what the plan says, right?
Yeah, just drink. But no, this guy, he was a very well-respected running coach. I think maybe still in the game. I don't really know. But if you're familiar with Chris Hinshaw, I think he's maybe like a generation older than him,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if I had to guess. And so, but they have very similar philosophies, and they both train high-end athletes. Chris in CrossFit, and this guy trains like Olympic runners. Jack Daniels trains Olympic runners and whatnot. Best book I've ever read on the subject. Haven't read that many books on the subject, but for what it's worth. And one of the main tenets of his, I guess, style of programming, in the book, he has different, like, you can train for 1,000 meters, you could train for 10,000 meters, you could train for ultra marathons. He has it broken out in different sections, but one of the main tenets of all of them, regardless, is what he calls these E runs, and E stands for easy. And I would say roughly like I would at least half, maybe a little more than half of the total volume of all of the programs in there were somewhere in that easy range.
That's great.
So like, yeah, so if you're running 5 days a week, 3 of those days might just be these easy runs where you go out for anywhere between 20 and 60 minutes, just depending on it. But there's no really prescribed pace. It's something that you could sustain for multiple hours if you had to. So,
Truly oxidative.
yeah. So it's one of the foundation when all the programs also start with a couple of weeks of just that, by the way, before you even get into any of the other intensity type stuff. It's
And
a
you could do that inside and never leave your house. You could just run in place
yeah,
and get a similar stimulus.
yeah, you could. Yeah,
Would not recommend that on a treadmill because your hip flexors get lit up on treadmills.
yeah. I like
Hard treadmills.
I like running outside. I don't mind it at all. So I'll just go for that, especially for the
Well,
e runs.
look at where you are. I'd run on the beach every day.
Yes, sir. Ooh, beach might be tough though.
Yeah, it would definitely be tough.
But yeah, it's just interesting. Like that's one of the foundations of his program are these e-runs that have no intensity prescribed to them at all. Just go at a sustainable pace that you could maintain for 2 or 3 hours, but only run for like 20 or 30 minutes. But that's the pace. And so it's like, I think the idea behind that is getting your body used to the volume.
Yeah, just the number of steps with the force per step. I mean, it's the full body weight, probably times 2 to 3 on one foot, and then it just gets a second rest, and then you do it again and again and again and again. Like
Yeah,
just doing a set of 50 double leg calf raises, like that's hard.
yeah, it is. And so, based on that idea, though, ever since I read that book only a couple years ago,
Hmm.
anytime that I take some time off from running for whatever reason it might be, and then I get back into it, the first 2 or 3 weeks minimum, I will only do those easy runs. I won't do any sort of high intensity running. I'll just do 2 days a week of those easy runs just to get my body used to it. And usually I'll just do like 20 minutes is my metric because I'm not a runner. So I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be like a crazy good runner. I just want to do it as a decent workout. That's all.
But you can run a hard mile and you could run a 5K and you could sign up today and be ready to do it tomorrow with maybe 4 weeks of training, 4 to 8
Yeah, I
weeks.
mean a 5K, I don't think I would need any training. But
Right.
but yeah, if I had a couple weeks, that'd be nice. But yeah, I would say like right now I would feel comfortable going out and running anything that's like 5 miles and under without any sort of prep at all. Beyond that, I would start to question if I should do it. And then once you hit that half marathon mark, it's like, okay, I should definitely train for that.
Yeah, the story about the marathon, the guy who ran to tell them the Persians were attacking, he
Yeah,
just died at the end.
yeah, exactly.